Alright, in this video I'm going to do a drain and flush on my hot water tank. First thing I do is turn the hot water tank to pilot light only. That way the burners don't turn on when the water drops. If you have an electric, you're going to want to turn off the power going to your hot water tank because you don't want your elements getting hot with no water in the tank. Even with the pilot light on, I'm going to work fairly quick because I don't want it to be dry inside with the pilot light running. That could damage things. First thing I'm going to do here is turn the water off to the tank, so the cold water is turned off. And then I'm going to hook my garden hose to the tank. I have a floor drain that I can just drain the tank into. You may have to do something fancy if you can't drain to a floor drain. One thing that I do, and I'm going to put it at the end of the video, is my drain is actually clogged when I go to do it the first time. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how I unclog this plastic drain valve. So now that the water's off, hose is hooked up, I'm going to open the drain valve, and you can see it's going pretty slowly. That's why a lot of people install a better drain valve instead of these little plastic things. But after a few minutes of being bored watching this, obviously it's just pushing the cold water out through the hose. I go up to the second floor of my house. I open up all the hot water taps and help the water drain out a little faster. Took about an hour, but once the water was drained out, I then went to the cold water valve again, turned on the water for a few seconds just to get a big blast of water into the bottom of the tank and get the sediment mixed up. I got a little bucket here so I can see if it's pushing any calcium or deposits out, and it actually looks pretty good first try. I do that a couple times. I actually took the hose off just so I can get a better visual. Obviously, if there's a bunch of sediment just sitting in the hose, it wouldn't be instantly visible, and therefore I might not have initially seen any sediment that might have come out. After turning the cold water back on and off a few times to mix it up, I'm pretty satisfied that everything's clean in the hot water tank. I'm going to close off the drain valve. I'm going to make sure that my pressure release valve is shut because obviously you don't want to fill it up and have pressurized water squirting out once the hot water tank fills. And then I'm going to turn the water back on to the hot water tank. It does take a while to fill up. Throughout this process, I just had the taps open on both the second and first floor of my house, and then eventually the water starts coming up through the taps. I didn't turn it off pilot light immediately. I let some water fill up in there, but after about 2 or 3 minutes of the water tank filling up, I did turn it back on, and obviously the burners kicked on right away. And that's it. Pretty simple. So like I said, initially this thing didn't drain. I was actually going to do this job 2 weekends ago, but I couldn't find some of the attachments so that I can run my garden hose in reverse here. So not a drop is even coming out of this thing, as you can see. And I also tried it with a tap open upstairs, as well as cold water on and off to the hot water tank. It didn't really make a difference, so probably clogged up. The things I got so that I could run my garden hose in reverse is actually this quick connect kit, which interestingly enough is pretty awesome. So if you don't have one of these for your garden hoses, they're pretty cool. Even if I didn't have to flush my hot water tank, I would buy these things, particularly right now because they're on sale because it's the end of the summer. So you can see once you put the quick connect on the tap, you can actually plug either end in because it comes with enough fittings to have the quick connect on both ends of the garden hose. And now I could just screw the other end onto the hot water tank. Just like before, I have the natural gas set on pilot light. I'm going to turn off the cold water inlet to the hot water tank. And I'm just going to drain a small amount of hot water off through the pressure release valve. And that's just so that the tank isn't pressurized. Obviously, if it's under pressure, you may not get water flowing back through that valve. I got one of my kids outside yelling at him to turn it on, and then obviously it's going to start gurgling through in reverse. So I disconnected it up at the house side and then brought the hose downstairs, and after running it backwards, really just for 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, it unplugged it, and the drain valve is now flowing pretty freely. It's recommended that you do this every year. I definitely don't achieve that. If you have well water, a lot of sediment in your water, really hard water, maybe you do want to go to that 1 year schedule. I'll probably stick on my every 2 or 3 year schedule. But even on a 2 or 3 year schedule, I really didn't get much sediment in the tank. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.